22-year-old Makoto Mururu is a third-year social sciences student at UNISA. Exams are just around the corner, but it's been difficult preparing for them. Marked assignments are piling up at post offices, while those that have been mailed are yet to reach the university.
At the moment, I didn't receive my assignment feedback, of which they post them. So it affects me as a student.
We submitted the assignment, the result, the delay of result.
UNISA says it's been affected by postal strikes for the past 4 years. It's currently in talks with the post office to clear the backlog. It also extended deadlines for assignment submissions and urged students to use the online portal or courier services contracted to UNISA.
We have further gone to the extent of saying to our students, do not mail your assignments via the post office. Go online onto my UNISA and send your assignments through my UNISA. Or go to the complexes of the university, on the premises of the university where we have placed assignment boxes.
Communication Workers Union, which is behind the strike, demands government to fire the entire post office board, increase their salaries and all contract workers to be made permanent. Post office management could not be reached for comment. Offenses Timo, SABC, Pretoria.
And meanwhile, the Communication Workers Union has expressed great concern in the lack of progress in trying to find a solution to an important public entity. CWU has called for an urgent implementation of the turnaround strategy that it says the government and the board have long promised to get to the public's entity in order. And for more on the story, we are now joined by Aubrey Shabalala, the Secretary General of the Communication Workers Union. Good morning, Aubrey.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm well, and you?
I'm great.
Thank you so much. But under the circumstances, we understand that the union is actually in negotiations and in communication with the Minister of Communication, including South Africa Post Office. How did that meeting go?
Well, it started on Thursday. It was all stakeholders were involved, including the Minister and the board, as well as the executive management and other unions as well. So the meeting went very well up until yesterday, where we have decided that on Monday we'll embark on a process on how to resolve the issues that led to the strike. It is our concern that we want to see post office back into production, back into work as soon as possible.
Well, besides the fact that you want them to come back to work, I understand that you're also calling on for the SAPO board to be removed. How practical is that, and how do you think that will resolve the issues at hand?
Well, look, one wise man once said that you cannot change the problems with the same conscience that created them. So what is central to this issue is that the executive management that ran the post office to the drain also was not made to account by the same board. So it will be impossible to say we're starting on a clean slate with the very same people that created these problems at the post office. So our view is that these are not problems that emerge today. It's a period of over 3 years. I'm sure you heard about ongoing strikes for over a period of 3 years. So it's a challenge that we are facing as a trade union movement, and we are saying these strikes were initiated inside the post office at hotel offices.
And during your media briefing, you said that the negotiations have collapsed. So where to from here?
Well, the negotiation with executive management has collapsed. Then the minister intervened on the process. So we are at that process where the minister have come in and say, let us see a way forward on how do we resolve these issues. And just to add, at the process where the negotiation collapsed, the management was engaging outside the bargaining processes, a group of workers, and agree with them in terms of going forward. In other words, undermining the legal processes, but opening other processes that are not recognized by law and by the company policies and practices, which led to this abrupt of the strike.
And speaking of the strike again, Aubrey, I mean, there have been reports of intimidation of non-striking workers by your members, the members of the CWU union. But what do you say about that? If you're trying to come to a conclusion where everybody is actually, relieved of the strike, why is there intimidation or reports of intimidation by your workers?
In fact, that was the wrong interpretation. What has happened is that some workers embark on the industrial action for about 3 weeks or so, and threatened our members, assaulted our members. Our members were in hospital, were hospitalized and so on. Civil cases were opened. And in that process, those workers were then granted or given contracts to employ other workers. That led to an unprotected strike. It's not CW that went out and say, let's go and strike. But it's the management that make concerted efforts to make sure that post office is destabilized. That's why we want them out.
And speaking of the post office and SAPO, I mean, the post office has constantly reiterated its commitment to hire these casual workers to full-time positions, but only if and when SAPO is at the financial capacity to do so. What are your remarks on that?
Well, we had agreements since 2005 that says the workers will be put into a permanent position. It's 2014 now, almost 10 years later. We're still talking the same language. Can you really believe the same management? It makes it impossible. Even if when you go to brief your members and say we have made an agreement that will be in a process after finance, they won't believe you. It's simple as all that. So what we are saying is that there must be a change. We are happy that some group executive has been currently suspended, whom we felt that they are central to this problem. So we believe that as and when we go forward, the first point in resolving problems of post office is to remove the entire executive and the board so that we can start on a clean slate. And the workers will gain confidence in the leadership of South African Post Office.
And the workers are not the only people that are affected by the strikes. I mean, I've just mentioned in my insert earlier on that UNISA, I mean, South Africa's biggest institution of learning is also affected by these strikes because their mail and other assignments are in jeopardy of coming onto the institution in time. Have you been in talks with UNISA and have they expressed their frustrations to you by all means?
With Post Office, there have been talks, I'm told, with also the Minister. We are going to engage UNISA as soon as we resolve this matter. I mean, we are equally concerned. There are people in the rural areas who solely rely on the services of Post Office, including students. Myself, I'm affected. I'm a student of UNISA. So it's not an easy thing. We're not calling for it. But we are saying that there should be a leadership that comes in and take a decisive step to resolve these problems.
Aubrey Shabalala, the Secretary General of Communication Workers Union, thank you so much for having this conversation with me this morning.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Great.
All righty then. Now we're moving on to other news.